My name is Sarah. For 12 years I was known as the barren woman. Not infertile, not struggling with conception. Barren. As if I were a field that could never bear fruit, a tree that would never bloom. It started innocently enough. Michael and I married when I was 28, him 31. We were young, in love, and absolutely certain that our two-bedroom apartment would soon echo with the sound of tiny feet. We'd lie in bed at night, his hand on my flat stomach, talking about names and nursery colours and whether our children would have his green eyes or my stubborn chin. We should probably wait a year, I'd say, but my heart was already 3 steps ahead, imagining myself glowing with pregnancy, feeling those first flutters of life. "Why wait?" Michael would whisper, pulling me closer. "We're ready." And we were ready. God, we were so ready. The first few months were exciting. Every late period sent my heart racing with hope. I bought pregnancy tests in bulk, hiding them in the bathroom cabinet. Each negative result was just a temporary setback, maybe next month, that I swallowed with forced optimism. By the end of the first year, the excitement had curdled into worry. "Maybe we should see someone," I suggested one evening, watching Michael's face carefully. He nodded, but I could see the flicker of concern in his eyes, the same concern that had been growing in my own chest like a tumour. Dr. Martinez was kind but clinical. Tests, more tests, procedures with names I couldn't pronounce. Michael's results came back perfect, of course. "Super swimmers," the doctor said with a smile that felt like a slap. Then came my turn. Blocked fallopian tubes, endometriosis, low egg count. The words fell like hammers, each one driving me deeper into a hole I didn't know how to climb out of. "But we can try IVF," Dr. Martinez said, her voice gentle but professional. "Your case isn't hopeless." IVF became our religion. We learned its rituals by heart, the daily injections that left my thighs spotted with bruises, the early morning blood draws, the ultrasounds that showed follicles growing like tiny promises. Michael would hold my hand during the procedures, his thumb tracing circles on my palm while I stared at the ceiling tiles and counted my breaths. The first cycle failed. The second. The third. "It's normal," Dr. Martinez assured us. "Many couples need multiple attempts." Normal. As if there was anything normal about injecting yourself with hormones that made you feel like you were drowning in your own emotions. As if there was anything normal about the way my body felt like a betrayer, a broken machine that couldn't perform its most basic function. By the 4th failed cycle, the word had started following me. Whispered by my mother-in-law when she thought I wasn't listening. Spoken aloud by my own mother, who had birthed 4 children with the ease of breathing. "Maybe God is trying to tell you something," she said one afternoon, her hands busy with knitting. Baby blankets for my sister's 3rd child. "Some women just aren't meant to be mothers." I left her house that day and didn't speak to her for 3 months. The worst part wasn't the medical procedures or the hormones or even the crushing disappointment of each failed cycle. The worst part was watching Michael's face change. The hope that had once lit up his eyes when we talked about our future family dimmed a little more each month. He never said it was my fault, but he didn't have to. The failure lived in my body, in my broken tubes and hostile womb. We tried everything: acupuncture, diet changes, fertility yoga, meditation. I swallowed supplements by the handful and gave up coffee, alcohol, and anything else that might interfere with conception. I became a walking encyclopedia of fertility facts, a woman who could discuss cervical mucus at dinner parties and chart her basal body temperature with scientific precision. "You're obsessed," my sister Lisa said one evening, watching me take my evening dose of vitamins. "Maybe you need to just relax." Relax. The word every infertile woman learns to hate, as if the many years of trying, of failing, of grieving children who never existed could be solved by a warm bath and some deep breathing. By year 7, our marriage had become a casualty of our desperate desire for children. Every conversation circled back to fertility treatments, ovulation windows, and the calendar that ruled our lives. Sex became a chore, scheduled around my cycle, drained of intimacy and joy. Michael started working late more often. I started avoiding baby showers, christenings, and family gatherings where well-meaning relatives would ask when we were going to have children of our own. The question felt like a physical blow every time. Maybe we should consider adoption, Michael suggested one night, his voice carefully measured. We were lying in bed, the space between us feeling like an ocean. I want to carry our baby, I whispered. I want to feel them growing inside me. But Sarah, we've been trying for 7 years. 7 years of procedures and disappointment. Maybe it's time to... To what? Give up? Accept that I'm broken? He was quiet for a long moment. You're not broken. But I was. I felt broken in every cell of my body, every empty day that passed without the miracle I'd been praying for. I felt broken in the way other women's pregnancies filled me with a toxic mixture of joy and jealousy, in the way I'd catch myself staring at pregnant strangers in the grocery store, imagining what it would feel like to carry that beautiful burden. The 8th year brought 2 miscarriages, brief, precious moments when I saw those 2 pink lines and allowed myself to believe, only to have hope ripped away by cramping and bleeding and the terrible silence of an empty ultrasound screen. I'm sorry, became the new phrase I started hearing. I'm so sorry for your loss. But how do you grieve for someone who never fully existed? How do you mourn a future that lived only in your imagination? The word Barren came from Michael's Aunt Helen at his cousin's wedding. I was sitting at our assigned table, watching the bride dance with her father, when Helen leaned over and patted my hand with false sympathy. You know, dear, there are so many women who are barren. It's not your fault, it's just God's plan. You should focus on being a good wife to Michael instead of chasing after impossible dreams. The word hit me hard. It's like I was a wasteland, a desert where nothing could grow. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried until my makeup ran, until my chest ached from the force of my sobs. When I returned to the table, Michael was arguing with his aunt in hushed tones. But the damage was done. The word had been spoken aloud, given voice to the fear that had been growing inside me for 9 years. That night, I told Michael I was done. Done with what? He asked, though we both knew what I meant. Done with treatments, done with hoping, done with turning our marriage into a fertility clinic. He was quiet for a long time. Are you sure? I nodded, though I wasn't sure of anything anymore. I can't do this anymore, Michael. It's killing me. It's killing us. We agreed to take a break. No more treatments, no more scheduled sex, no more obsessing over my cycle. We would just be a couple again, without the weight of expectation crushing us. The next 2 years were strange. Without the constant focus on fertility, Michael and I had to remember how to talk to each other about other things. We took trips, rediscovered old hobbies, made friends with other childless couples. I went back to school and got my master's degree in counselling. Michael started coaching Little League baseball. You're good with kids, I told him one evening, watching him demonstrate batting stances to a group of 8-year-olds. So are you, he replied, remembering how I'd spent the afternoon helping his young players tie their cleats and find their gloves. We were learning to build a life that didn't revolve around the children we might never have. It was painful but also liberating. For the first time in years, I could enjoy being around children without the sharp stab of jealousy that had become my constant companion. But the longing never fully went away. It lived in the quiet moments, in the way I'd pause outside the baby section at Target, in the dreams that still sometimes featured tiny hands and soft cries in the night. I was 45 when I missed my period. At first, I didn't think much of it. My cycles had become irregular over the past year, and Dr. Martinez had warned me that perimenopause might be starting. But when the nausea hit, followed by an exhaustion so profound I could barely function, I bought a pregnancy test with shaking hands, 2 pink lines, clear as day. I stared at the test for 10 minutes, certain I was hallucinating. Then I took another one, and another, all positive. Michael found me sitting on the bathroom floor, surrounded by positive pregnancy tests, tears streaming down my face. "Sarah, what's wrong?" I held up the tests with trembling hands. "I'm pregnant." His face went through a series of emotions: disbelief, hope, fear, joy. "Are you sure?" "I've taken 6 tests. They're all positive." He sank down beside me on the cold tile floor, pulling me into his arms. We held each other and cried, afraid to hope too much, afraid to believe that after 12 years of trying, it had finally happened. The blood test confirmed it. I was 6 weeks pregnant. Dr. Martinez was as shocked as we were. "At your age, after everything you've been through, this is, well, it's remarkable." The first ultrasound at 8 weeks showed something even more remarkable. Dr. Martinez moved the wand around my belly, her forehead creased in concentration. "I'm seeing, well, this is interesting." "What? Is something wrong?" She turned the screen toward us, pointing to 3 distinct shapes. "You're having triplets." The room spun. Michael grabbed my hand so hard I thought he might break it. "Triplets," I whispered. 3 healthy heartbeats, congratulations." I laughed through my tears, the sound bordering on hysteria. After 12 years of emptiness, my body had decided to make up for lost time. You would think that after watching us struggle for over a decade, our families would have been overjoyed. Some were. My sister Lisa cried when we told her, holding me tight and whispering, "I'm so happy for you. You deserve this." But others reacted differently. "At your age?" my mother said, her voice sharp with concern. "Sarah, you're 45. This is risky. Have you considered—" "Considered what?" I interrupted. "Selective reduction. Carrying 3 babies at your age. It's dangerous." I did not take these words positively. Selective reduction. Choose which of my miracle babies to let go. "No," I said firmly. "Absolutely not." Michael's family was even worse. His Aunt Helen, the one who had called me Barren, actually suggested that the pregnancy was unnatural. "You're too old to be having babies," she said during a family dinner. "And 3? What kind of life can you give them at your age?" "The kind of life filled with love and gratitude," Michael responded, his voice tight with anger. "The kind of life we've been dreaming of for 12 years. Even some of our friends struggled with our news. One couple who had watched us go through years of fertility treatments seemed almost resentful. "It's not fair," the wife said, her voice bitter. "We've been trying for 3 years and you just get pregnant naturally with triplets. At 45? I understood her pain. I'd felt that same jealousy watching other women's pregnancies. But I also couldn't apologize for my miracle. The pregnancy was difficult. My body, which had failed me for so long, was now working overtime to nurture 3 lives. I was sick constantly, exhausted beyond measure, and by the 3rd trimester, I could barely walk without help. "Are you sure about this?" Michael asked one evening, watching me struggle to get comfortable in bed. "I mean, are you happy?" I placed his hand on my enormous belly, where 3 babies were making their presence known with constant kicks and rolls. "I've never been this happy," I said, and meant it. Every discomfort, every sleepless night, every moment of nausea was a gift. My body was finally doing what I'd dreamed of for so long. I was growing our children, feeling them move and hiccup and stretch inside me. At 34 weeks, my water broke. The next 12 hours were a blur of contractions, monitoring, and fear. But at 2:47 a.m., 3:15 a.m., and 3:33 a.m., our 3 miracles arrived. Emma, weighing 4 pounds 2 ounces, James 4 pounds even, and little Sophie 3 pounds 14 ounces. Perfect, healthy, beautiful babies who looked like they'd been worth every moment of the 12-year wait. The first year with triplets was controlled chaos. Michael and I moved through our days like zombies, feeding, changing, and soothing 3 babies in constant rotation. We had help. My sister Lisa practically moved in with us for the first 3 months. but nothing could have prepared us for the reality of caring for 3 newborns. "I can't remember the last time I slept for more than 2 hours straight," I told Michael one morning, bouncing Sophie while he fed Emma and James. "I can't remember my own name," he replied, and we both laughed, delirious with exhaustion and joy. The babies were healthy but demanding. Emma was the quiet one, content to observe the world with serious dark eyes. James was the charmer, always ready with a smile. Sophie was the fighter, the one who'd been smallest but had the biggest personality. People stared when we went out. 3 babies in a triple stroller, pushed by a woman who looked like she could be their grandmother. I caught the whispers, the judgmental looks, the conversations that stopped when I passed. "She's too old." Those poor children. How selfish. But I didn't care. Every sleepless night, every diaper change, every moment of chaos was a privilege I'd fought 12 years to earn. As the babies grew into toddlers, new challenges emerged. My energy wasn't what it had been at 30, and chasing 3 curious 2-year-olds was exhausting. At the playground, I was often mistaken for their grandmother, which stung more than I cared to admit. "Are you watching your grandchildren today?" other mothers would ask, their voices friendly but their eyes calculating my age. "These are my children," I'd reply, lifting my chin with pride and defiance. The judgment was constant. At parent-teacher conferences, I caught the looks between teachers. At birthday parties, I was the oldest parent by at least 15 years. Other parents were polite but distant, as if my advanced maternal age were contagious. But the children thrived. Emma was bookish and serious, already reading at 4. James was athletic and outgoing, making friends wherever he went. Sophie was artistic and dramatic, painting elaborate stories across every surface she could reach. "They're amazing," Michael would say, watching them play in the backyard. "Look what we almost missed." The thought haunted me sometimes. What if I'd given up earlier? What if I'd listened to the voices telling me to accept my fate, to embrace being childless? We would have missed Emma's first word, James's infectious giggle, Sophie's terrible twos tantrums that somehow made us laugh instead of cry. When the children were 5, I had my own reckoning with the years of pain. A young couple came to me for fertility counselling. I'd been working with infertile couples since getting my degree. They'd been trying for 3 years, and the woman looked exactly like I had at 31, desperate, angry, and convinced her body was betraying her. "I feel so broken," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Everyone keeps telling me to relax, to stop trying so hard. But how do you stop wanting something you've dreamed of your whole life?" I handed her tissues and sat with her pain, remembering my own journey through that particular hell. "I can't promise you'll get pregnant," I told her. "I can't promise that wanting it badly enough will make it happen, but I can promise that you're not broken. You're not less of a woman because your body isn't cooperating. You're not selfish for wanting children, and you're not weak for grieving every month." She looked at me with surprise. "You sound like you understand." "I tried for 12 years, I said. "I was called Barren. I was told to give up, to accept that some women aren't meant to be mothers. I almost believed it." "But you have children now," she said, confused. "I do. Triplets. I got pregnant naturally at 45 after years of failed treatments. But I need you to understand something. My story isn't a promise. It's not a guarantee that if you just wait long enough, try hard enough, it will happen for you too." Her face fell slightly. "But," I continued, "it's also not a reason to give up if you're not ready to. Your journey is your own. Your timeline is your own. Don't let anyone else decide when you've tried enough. The children are 7 now, and every day I'm grateful for the 12 years of pain that led to this moment." Emma reads to me every night, her serious little face concentrated on the words. James brings me flowers he's picked from the yard, usually dandelions that most people consider weeds, but that I treasure like roses. Sophie draws me pictures of our family, Always the same 5 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. "Why did it take so long for us to get here?" Emma asked one evening, the way children do, with startling directness. I thought about how to answer her, how to explain the years of longing and loss to a 7-year-old. "Sometimes the best things take a long time," I said finally. "Sometimes we have to wait for exactly the right moment, for exactly the right babies to find their way to us." "Were we worth the wait?" James asked, climbing into my lap. I looked at my 3 miracles, at Michael reading to Sophie in the corner, at the life we'd built after so many years of empty rooms and broken dreams. "You were worth every second," I said, and meant it completely. Last month I spoke at a fertility support group. The room was full of women in various stages of their journeys, some just beginning, others years deep in treatments, a few considering when to stop trying. I saw myself in every face, remembered the hope and despair that had defined so many years of my life. "I want to be careful about how I tell my story," I began, "because I don't want to give false hope, but I also don't want to give false despair." I told them about the 12 years, about the word barren, about the marriage that nearly broke under the weight of disappointment. I told them about the decision to stop trying, about learning to live without the children I'd dreamed of. And yes, I told them about the triplets, about the miracle that came when I'd stopped looking for it. "But here's what I really want you to know," I said, looking around the room at these brave women. "Your worth isn't measured by your ability to conceive. Your womanhood isn't defined by your fertility. Whether you have children or not, whether you get pregnant naturally or through treatment or through adoption or not at all, you are enough exactly as you are." A woman in the back raised her hand. "But don't you think it all happened for a reason? That you had to wait so long to appreciate what you got?" I thought about the question, about the temptation to make sense of suffering by giving it purpose. "I don't know if everything happens for a reason," I said honestly. "But I know that everything that happens can be given meaning. The 12 years of pain taught me compassion, taught me to appreciate the miracle of life in a way I might not have otherwise. But I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, and I don't think it was necessary for me to become a good mother." After the meeting, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 28, the age I'd been when I started trying. "I've been trying for 6 months," she said. "I know that's nothing compared to what you went through, but I'm already scared, already feeling like something's wrong with me." 6 months of wanting something desperately isn't nothing," I told her. "Your fear is real, and it's valid. But please don't let anyone tell you that you're not trying hard enough or that you need to relax. Don't let anyone make you feel like less of a woman because your body isn't cooperating with your timeline." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "What if it takes as long for me as it did for you?" "Then you'll find a way to survive it," I said. "And if you don't get pregnant, you'll find a way to build a meaningful life anyway. There's no shame in either outcome." As I drove home that night, I thought about the woman I'd been at 28, so certain that pregnancy would come easily, that motherhood was just a matter of wanting it badly enough. I wished I could go back and tell her that the journey would be longer and harder than she imagined, but also that she was stronger than she knew. I thought about the woman I'd been at 43, convinced that her body was broken beyond repair, that the word barren was carved into her soul. I wished I could tell her that the story wasn't over, that the most beautiful chapters were still to come. But mostly I thought about the woman I am now, 48, tired, grey-haired, and raising 3 beautiful children who call me Mama. I am not the mother I thought I'd be at 28. I'm older, more tired, often mistaken for their grandmother. But I am exactly the mother these particular children needed, and they are exactly the children I was meant to have. The word barren no longer has power over me. It was wrong, but more than that, it was irrelevant. My worth was never tied to my fertility, and my purpose was never limited to my ability to conceive. I am a mother, but I am also a woman who survived 12 years of loss and disappointment. I am a wife who learned that love can endure even when dreams seem impossible. I am a counsellor who can sit with other women's pain because I've walked through my own. The triplets are asleep now, finally, after the usual bedtime chaos of stories and water requests and one more hug. Michael is reading in his chair and I'm writing this story, trying to capture the complexity of a journey that can't be reduced to simple platitudes about everything happening for a reason. My story is not a promise that if you wait long enough, try hard enough, believe strongly enough, you'll get what you want. But it is a testament to the fact that even when life doesn't follow our plans, even when our bodies don't cooperate with our dreams, even when people use words like barren to define us, we can still find joy, purpose, and meaning. The children I carried for 12 years in my heart before I carried them in my body are sleeping peacefully down the hall. They are my miracle, not because they prove that good things come to those who wait, but because they exist at all in this chaotic, unpredictable, beautiful world. Thank you for watching.